think it is an honour. So many people lie buried in these cemeteries that came here and sacrificed their lives for our freedom, so to be able to give something back makes it a very special, unique job to do. I studied horticulture for 3 years, and as a result of that, and knowing people who came to work for the Commonwealth War Graves Commission before, I applied to come and work abroad in whatever country they chose to send me to. As a result of that, I arrived in Belgium 23 years ago. After 23 years, it's become home. I don't really think about the UK as home anymore. What's very special for me is meeting the public, meeting the visitors and hearing their own personal stories and what's brought them here. And some of them have travelled here from maybe Australia or New Zealand or further. It's very special to be able to help them to find a long lost relative or family member. I met some Australians at a burial some years ago. Travelled all the way from Australia to bury I think it was the great uncle who nobody in the family could even remember still. These stories make you stop and think and make you realise how important your work is and what you can bring to people in terms of family history and discovering their past. My grandfather came to Belgium to fight at the very end of the First World War. Thankfully he survived. A lot of his family and friends didn't. I have a lot of photos at home of him with people of his family who now lie buried in the cemeteries where I'm working. So that makes it a very close personal experience to be here. The grave here that gets the most visits and the most well known is the grave that I'm beside here of John Condon, who was killed aged just 14. It's very moving to see groups of school children gathered around this grave, as you do on most days, because he was actually younger than most of them, and speaking to them after their visit, they find that very, very emotional experience to visit this particular grave. Working amongst these graves, even though it's 100 years ago, I think it's still very relevant today. These cemeteries will always be something that people can come to and remember the huge sacrifice that many young people made for our freedoms today.